So today's question that we'll be answering is why are young people hesitant to talk about issues that they may be facing with adults? Or I'm here today with
David.
If you had an issue at school, who would you go to? And you said the first person you would go to is the person you have the issue with. And then you said you're really close with your mum. So how would you say that being close with your mum kind of affects situations like that?
Because I can be really open with my mum and tell her what's going on. And I know she always gives me the right advice. So she'll tell me the appropriate way to go about things, which is always the best way.
Do you ever feel like you're not listened to, or like what you're saying isn't communicated? Like, not necessarily just with your mum, but also maybe with someone else, like another adult?
Yeah, maybe with like my dad, maybe. Like sometimes he just kind of discards things. Sometimes, but it's very rare.
Is there anything that you've kind of kept to yourself, and is there a particular reason like why you might have kept it to yourself? Like, you don't have to say what it is, you can just say like that you've kept something to yourself, and maybe if you can think of the reason why you haven't really spoken about it.
I don't think there is, to be honest, because I have Daniel, it's my twin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so me and Daniel talk about everything. Yeah.
So would you say that having a sibling in that sense really helps you in terms of...
Yeah, because we're twins, we're like really close all the time. Yeah, so that helps. There's nothing we don't hide from each other, I think.
And what would you say, like, say, I know it's hard to like think of when you're not in the situation, like say you were an only child, like, or can you even imagine what it would be like to be an only child?
Materialistic wise, that would be so much better. But then I think it would be a bit more boring in the house. I'd be a bit more isolated.
Like, as a young person, how much responsibility would you say you feel you have for like just anything in general?
Maybe responsibilities over my younger siblings. As the older brother, I have to set a right example. Always tell them off where they're doing wrong, give them advice when they need it, etc.
And like, how would you feel if your younger siblings ever had an issue that they were experiencing and they didn't feel comfortable coming to talk to you about it? I'm talking something like big, like a really big issue that they were experiencing.
I don't even know, because my sister's had a few issues before, but then she always comes to like me, my brother, my sister, and my mum. So.
How would you say like that makes you feel?
I don't really think too much of it, to be honest. Yeah. At the time, try to help her. Then after that, I just don't think about it.
If you could say anything to like maybe a teacher or not even just adults, but also other young people about the things that they say or the way that they behave, what would you say? Like a piece of advice from you, or like a chip of truth from you on that topic?
I think that older people should listen more and really understand the younger kids, and that younger kids shouldn't be afraid to tell people what's wrong, because sometimes, majority of the times, the older people have answers that are useful.
Thank you for that. So I'm here today with
Dan. Yeah.
I'll just be asking him a few questions on communication with young people and adults and other young people, and what can be done to improve this. So my first question to you is, has there ever been a situation where you felt like you weren't listened to, or has there been a situation opposite to that where you felt like you were listened to really well?
I feel like probably more with my dad, but like he just assumes he knows the answer, and his opinion is the right opinion, and that nothing else is really needed because he knows the right way.
How would you say that kind of affects you, or affects like your ability to speak to him?
If there is something I want to talk about, I don't think he'll listen to hear my side so he can understand what I'm trying to say, because he never really does understand, because he's already got his answer and the right way for it.
I feel sometimes like the immediate response when I bring up any kind of issue that I've been having is to correct me. So I feel like sometimes that's really dismissive, because you're not listening to what I'm saying, you're just kind of listening to what's wrong with what I'm saying. So that's something that I've experienced, which kind of sounds similar to what you were saying. And another question I have is like, what piece of advice, or like what chip of truth would you give to like your dad, if you could, like if he said, I would listen to absolutely anything you say, and I'll immediately act on it in terms of what you just told me, what would you say to him?
Probably just ask him to wait and listen to my full story and let me explain fully before he cuts in and tries to give his solution to everything.
As a young person, would you say you feel like you have any responsibilities in terms of like your future, things that you have to take care of, younger siblings, anything like that?
Yeah, I have to look after my younger siblings a lot. A lot of times I can't do things I want to do because I have to stay and look after them.
Like, if you could give them advice on like how to deal with situations where they feel like they're not listened to, what would you say to them?
I feel like they'd have to speak to someone else. They wouldn't be able to talk to their dad.
That's interesting. So from that, I'm getting that maybe find another point of contact. So find someone else you can ask about the situation. Has there ever been a time where you felt like you were listened to really well, like someone really understood what you were saying?
One of my cousins, he lives in Catford, yeah. When I speak to him,
you feel? And what would you say like about your conversations makes you feel like you're listened to, or makes you feel like you're connecting in that way?
Obviously he's 26, so it wasn't that, like, even in uni and stuff, it wasn't that long ago when he was doing some of the stuff or whatever that I was doing and stuff.
So there's like a level of understanding there because he's gone through it recently. All right, that's interesting. That's good. And my final kind of question on this topic is, if you were to say some final words on the topic of why are young people reluctant to speak up about issues they may be facing? Like, what would you say you want to change?
I feel like once they bring up an issue with them, they'll just see something wrong that they did, start judging them, lecturing them, all that stuff, and making them feel like they've done something really wrong, like they're a bad person or something.
All right, so thank you very much for all of the words you said, Dan.
I personally feel as though sometimes young people are afraid to ask for help because of a reaction. The reaction that you may receive sometimes towards a question or a dilemma that you've asked may not necessarily be the one that you want to hear. So oftentimes that can install fear in you to ask further or to ask again for something or for help. Personally, when I was growing up in school, I was afraid to speak up about it because of how I'd seen my classmates react to other people asking questions and them getting it wrong. Sometimes they'll look at you as if you're stupid or, you're not smart, you don't understand. But I feel like it's really important to be able to ask for help from not only teachers but from your parents as well. And there have also been situations where I've needed advice or needed to ask for help, but I've been too afraid to go to my mom, not because she's intimidating or scary, but because I'm scared of her reaction. So I feel like sometimes how people react to what you ask them can really affect whether or not they actually ask for help in the future.
I think young people tend not to ask others for help when they need it because of pride. Personally, I'd rather struggle if I have to struggle to understand and figure something out by myself than to ask someone else, because sometimes I feel like, they might think that I'm not smart or I'm not good enough. So I just prefer to do it by myself, even if it will take me a longer time than to ask someone for help. Another reason is because we just genuinely believe we can do it and we just want to figure it out ourselves and not involve anyone else to see if we can actually do it ourselves, like a personal challenge. For example, in a classroom setting, if the teacher's explaining something and I'm not understanding something, and other people do this as well, we just put our heads down and try and figure it out ourselves, even if that means we're falling behind, and then we figure it out ourselves and then catch up by ourselves without asking for help. And even though it takes a longer time, I personally feel like it's more rewarding trying to do it by yourself and then not asking other people.